And I'm concluding the message I started last Wednesday night on the power of influence. And boy, I tell you what, well, like I said, whether we all know it, everybody's built. We're influenced one way or another on people. Either a good influence or we're a bad influence. And we need to realize tonight that the first impression people get of us a lot of times is what they'll think of us the rest of their life. Just like a church or person. You go to a church and you don't feel, I remember years ago, I was out of church. I had left my first church I pastored. We were looking for another church. I remember we went to my wife's home church and that Sunday night, and Brother Phil, nobody would talk to us. One person spoke to us. And I thought, you know, I felt bad, and it wasn't too good influence on me, you know. But we all have an influence. We all have an influence on people, good or bad, negative or positive. And that's exactly what we need to be careful and understand the way we talk, the way we walk, the way we live, and the way we carry ourselves in this life. It reflects on you, and that reflection will either be an influence that's negative or it'll be a positive influence. I want to be a positive influence, don't you? Yeah. I really do, because I tell you what, Lord been too good to me for me to do anything to discredit or dishonor Him. But we're looking here in the book of 1 Thessalonians. We read this last week, and we'll go ahead and read it again, and we'll go ahead and we'll preach a little bit and finish this message up tonight, Lord willing. It says, Paul and Silvanus and Timotheus, I'm sorry, wrong. I started chapter 1. Chapter 2. For yourselves, brethren, know our interest into you, that it was not in vain. But even after that we had suffered before, and were shamefully treated, as you know, at Philippi, we were bold in our God to speak unto you the gospel of God with much contention. For our exhortation was not of deceit, nor of uncleanness, nor in guile. But as we were allowed of God to be put in trust with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God which trieth our heart. For neither at any time use we flattering words, as you know, not a cloak of covetousness, God is witness. Nor of men sought we glory, neither of you, nor yet of others, for we might have been burdensome as the apostles of Christ. But we were gentle among you, even as a nurse cherishes her children. But we're going to read tonight, as we were talking here. Paul was preaching here and talking about what he had tried to instill in these Christians tonight. And Paul, he was reminding them folks of some things about himself. Paul was not bragging on himself, but he was stating facts. He said here, for our exhortation was not of deceit. He said, I didn't deceive you that one time. He said it wasn't uncleanness, nor in guile, or hatred, or trickery. But as we were allowed of God to be put in trust with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God which tries our hearts. For neither at any time used we flattering words, as you know, nor cloak of covetousness, God is witness. He said, nor of men sought we glory, neither of you, nor yet of others, when we might have been burdensome as the apostles of Christ. But we were gentle among you, as a nurse cherishes her children. So he was saying, hey, I treated you, and he said I had an influence on you. Paul had a good influence on you. People can influence others to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And there's been many times we know that's the fact. But I'm going to preach about the power of our influence. What kind of influence do you have on people? What kind of influence do I have on people? We told last week, about the caution and the counsel about this, about having an influence. But we're going to bring three more thoughts tonight, and we'll be through. First of all, we want to see something about having a powerful influence. We need to understand there's consequences of having a bad influence. Now we're talking about, first we're going to do the bad influence, then we're going to talk about the good influence here in a minute. But there are consequences of people having a bad influence on other people. You know what a person that has a bad influence does? It's destruction. You understand? It destroys, bad influence will destroy you. I know there's a lot of people tonight that started out doing well. Maybe a child that was a good young man. But they got around the wrong people. And they got around the wrong influences. And that child ended up being the exact opposite from what they were before they started getting around those influences. Whether you know it or not, bad influences will start at a young age for children. If they're around people, around children that curse, that do bad things and talk filthy, they'll end up being like them. Well, you know what? Influence. The Bible says here in Proverbs chapter 11:9, a hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered. He said, a man that ain't right with God, a hypocrite, a tear a man on the feet. Destroy you. It will destroy you. It even said in Proverbs 13:20, he said, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. I want to read this story I found I wrote down. I want to see. This little boy one time was familiar. He lived in the mountains. He was familiar with the mine pits all around. That was old pits that they used. He knew where they were. Some were very deep, and he knew when to avoid them. It was told that one night him and his Boy Scout troop went on a midnight hike. And as this boy knew the mountains well, because he was born there and he lived there all his life. So he would sneak off from the troop and go out on these little private hikes. And we see here, the scoutmaster rebuked him, Brother Mike. He said, look, even though you know where these pits are and these mine pits are, he said, and you know how to avoid them, but said the path that you make, that others may find them, follow your path, and not know and fall to their death and they'll find them. People are watching us. Daddies, mamas, we influence our youngins. And if we walk a path of destruction, they'll follow in our path. You remember when your children were small? You ever had your youngins imitate things that you have did? Have you ever seen them just do things like you do, and they follow by example? Too many people have followed the wrong person down the wrong path, and they end up destroyed. I guarantee a lot of these people tonight that's on these drugs, it started out probably hanging around with someone, and they may have come from good families, hanging around with somebody that experimented with drugs. And there as they were there, they were around the people that were doing that, and that influence that they were around caused them, that under pressure maybe, to experiment with, and then they got to the place where they experimented with them, and they ended up being a drug addict, and some even died of drug overdoses. See, that's what happens. That's what happens when people have a bad influence. Well, it's destruction, it is. People will lead you a path that will end up destroying you. Destroying you. People that are disobedient or intimidating people, Brother Mike. They're very intimidated. Those that are like this, they are very intimidated. And they influence others in their wickedness. And we understand tonight we need to be a great influence on people. And when they see us do things not pleasing to God, they'll see it, and if they're young enough and they got hard, they may end up mocking us and doing what we do. How they do it sometimes, maybe a bad threat, maybe threatening, they have hateful words. There's been a lot of times people have been influenced into doing things that they didn't really want to do because of evil people being intimidated. You should understand, we are here today. We all are going to be influential. We're either going to have a good influence or a bad influence. Those people are companions of those people. To those foolish people, and they're destroyed by their influence that these people have. That's right. I remember when I was lost. I got started off in a bad track, but when I was a young teenager, I got into the wrong crowd. I won't tell you what all I done because that's behind us under blood and I don't need to bring it out. But a lot of that happened because I was with the wrong crowd and with the wrong influence. And let me tell you what, friend. A godless person destroy others. And you know what? He'll destroy them. And he persuades them to do wrong. How many of y'all know you got relatives that's been in trouble and they've been around the wrong people and they've done wrong? And we cannot blame the other person because a person sinned, but it's their choice. That's why it's important for them not to be around people that bad influences them. Don't be around somebody that cusses every breath. Don't really be around somebody that talks junk about the church and your preacher. Don't be around anybody that just a pure out wicked person. Don't be around that influence. Don't even let your children go home with people you know that's wicked and drink, cursing. Don't let them do it. Me and my wife, when my children was coming up, we never let them spend them out from home much. If it was relative, we do it well. But see, you got people today, they're already sowing the seed of disobedience in their children by letting them go home with somebody they don't even know. Let me tell you what, my youngest used to want people to want to go home with people. I said, you let them come home with us because I can see what they're doing. I know what they're doing here at my house. All preaching is innocent. Oh, really? This preacher up in the county I used to be youth pastor at, a pastor of that church. Started letting this little girl go home with different people. She was a teenage girl. Well, preacher, there's nothing wrong. Well, what was wrong with that? Well, she ended up having a child out of wedlock by a black man. Well, preacher, what the preacher thought? Well, it was. You got to guard you got to have a good influence, but you got to guard those that's not old enough and mature enough to understand what those influences they have on them. So we see here, the Word of God tells us it repeatedly through the Bible. It tells us, shows us the influence that sinful people can have on us. Proverbs 5:12 tells us, Romans 5:12 says, wherefore by one man sin into the world, and death by sin, so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. Adam had that influence, and he sinned. And it passed upon what? Upon all men. Romans 5:19 said this, for about one man's disobedience, many were made sinners. So by the disobedience of one shall many, for by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. I'm glad of that last part of that verse, ain't you?
Amen.
Even the Bible talks about Solomon. You remember Solomon? The wisest man in the Bible, and probably one of the wealthiest men ever written within the Bible. Probably was. But the Bible says later on in life, Brother Mike, he married women. Of course, he had too many wives anyway. Man had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And he didn't show a lot of wisdom, to be honest with you. But his wife turned his heart away from God. Solomon's wisdom was known throughout the inhabited world. But he turned his back. He started marrying women and all. Maybe some of those women that he had, when they went to war and won wars, he got them as part of the bounty. I don't know. But that shows you one thing. It don't matter how close to God you are. You better keep your guard up, because you can be influenced by people that can really poison your mind and poison your look on things. Years ago at my home church, this man and woman come to the church, they joined the church. And this man began a little riff in the church. And when he began to riff in the church, it was like a ripple effect. 3 or 4 or 5 turned on our pastor and left, and they spread, they spewed poison out about him all over town. That may not have happened if that one man hadn't been a bad influence on others to follow. And people follow people like that. You know what I'm talking about. God tells us, stay away from those that are wicked, that are controlling you to do wicked. Stay away from them. I don't care if you're mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa, dad, brother, sister, who it is, if they do that, stay away from them. Because you don't understand the power a wicked person have over you. They're intimidated. They're very shrewd in what they're doing. And their philosophy, they ain't going to take no prisoners. Not only that, but the destruction of the damage. Proverbs 25:26, the righteous man falling down before the wicked is a troubled fountain and a corrupt spring. You know what a tragic thing is? It's for a Christian to lose his testimony and lose that influence. I want to tell you something, friend. Our testimony is valuable, should be valuable to all of us. And when you get to the point, when you lose your testimony, it's hard to ever get it back like it was. You may get right with God. Like those folks that backslide on God, and they get right with God. But it not only does that damage Brother Mike your testimony, but it damages your credibility you have with people. Or your influence you have over people. Especially those that we're kin to, our loved ones, our folks that we love, our kinfolk, our relatives. Because we lose our testimony, yeah, we may get right with the Lord, and we may ask God to forgive us, but we never will have the impact on them that we would have had we not lost your testimony. You remember a lot, his testimony was damaged, but because of his testimony, he tried to warn his son-in-laws that God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And what did he do? They laughed at him and mocked at him because why? He had lost his influence on them. Have anybody lost your influence you have on your family? The Bible says here, in Genesis 19:14, Lot went in straight to his son-in-law, and which married his daughters, and said, "Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city." But he seemed as one that mocked unto his son-in-laws. The Bible said they didn't take him seriously. They mocked him. Who are you to tell me when you've been doing just as bad as we have? Have you been mingling with the Sodomites, and you've been mingling and been doing business with people of the world, and you backslid on God? Who are you to try to tell us what to do? You say that's the way it is. If you don't watch out, you backslide on God. You might get right with God, but there'll be somebody that watch out and throw it up what you done when you messed up. They'll bring it up every time. And y'all not too long people will. Especially when you try to win them to God, they say, well, I know you know better than I am with what you did. And you know what? That's right, ain't it? There's a lot of men and women that backslid on God and got right with God. But they've never been able to reach their family members because they've destroyed those testimonies, and they never will be as effective as they once were. How do you get behind it? What do you do, preacher? Because what do you do? Well, the only thing I know, the best thing I know to do is first you ask God to forgive them. You go to that person that you know that you've offended, and you know that's keeping that in the back part of your mind what you did, and you say, look, I want you to know something. I know I did wrong a long time ago. I know I backslid and I done wrong and I hurt you and I hurt my own testimony. I want you to forgive me. I ask God to forgive me, and by the help and grace of God, I'm going to live for God, and I want you to forgive me. That's the only thing you do. The worst part about it, one thing about it, well, they might do that, but whether you win them to God, I don't know. But that's the way you can get it. That's a start. I'll never tell them I messed up. You don't have to tell them they know you messed up. You just go say, I'm sorry. The way I acted. I'm sorry that I disappointed you and disappointed God, and I failed God. I want you to forgive me. I'm trying to serve God, and I'm right with God. I know I ask God to forgive me, and I'm trying to live for God, and I'm trying to let you know that I'm sorry, and I want to tell you that not everybody backslide like I did. Let them know that. Say, but I've learned my lesson. That's what we need to understand. A bad influence will lead to a defeat. Our defeat. We don't want to hurt others. We hurt ourselves too. Worse than you know it. We hurt ourselves. Why? Because we damage what we... You know what? You can destroy what you build up in your faith and your living for God. You've worked for it all these years. Within 10 minutes, you can destroy everything that you build up. Amen. You can destroy everything that you've ever built up. The choices you make will blow up in your face, won't it? If you're backsliding, if you make wrong decisions, they'll end up blowing up in your face. It may look good on the outside, but when you partake of it out of the will of God, it ends up turning like a snake, turning on you and biting you, killing you or wounding you. You see, one person's sin can affect a whole group of people. It can. One person's sin. How about Achan? Achan, he affected the whole nation by taking that Babylonian garment and that wedge of gold. He took it. That little city of Ai defeated Israel. And I ain't bad mistaken. I believe 36 men were killed because of it. Because of one man's sin. Adam did the very same thing. The Bible said, where about one man sin in the world and death by sin? He said, so death passed by all men, for all have sinned. Adam did. Adam started it all. His influence has influenced others to do the same thing. I have a relative right now. He got a son. He tried his best to get that boy to do right, but he was a bad example in front of him. Before you know it, his influence was so bad they would end up drinking beer together. No, I thought, that's so sad. I want to have a good influence on my family, my children. My children know me better than you do, nobody else does. They do. I want to have a good influence on both you. Amen. And also I found this too, Brother Phil. If youngins are around other youngins that disrespect their parents, they'll end up doing the same to their parents. When I was brought up, when I was a little boy, you knew better than to disrespect your parents. You didn't sass them. You didn't ask them why. You just did what you were told and kept your opinion or your sayings to yourself. Because if you didn't, you would pay the ultimate price.
Amen.
And it's like children. Little children, young people are very easily influenced by life. Now when you get older and get strong in the Lord and you live for God, you can shield that little on your life. You can let it bounce off of you when children are young and tender and pure and innocent to a certain extent. That can be very easily influenced. Proverbs tells us, said, whosoever robbeth his father or his mother, and saith, it's no transgression the same as the company of a destroyer. He said in Proverbs 28:7, whosoever keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of righteous men shameth his father. Even Solomon even said, if you hang around somebody like that, you're going to be in the company of people that do not destroy you. I want to have good influence. You know why? Because people around this church, this community watching me, they're watching us. And we all want to be a good influence on people. I want to show you something here. What else influence? Stay away from those influence people like to dispute, argue, fuss, and gossip about everybody. Those that have an angry influence, that are angry and they stir up stinks and stir up stuff. I don't want to be around a crowd like that. I don't. You know some that just delight in spreading gossip. You ever seen them spread gossip and smile the whole time? I don't like being around men like that. If you see somebody not doing something right, best thing to do, you're going to talk about it and talk about it to the Lord. Yeah. Tell God on them. That's what you need to do. And what they do when they do this, they rile others up to do the same thing. If you get around people like gossip, you don't stay there and watch out, you'll be right in there with them, gossiping to them. But not only that, they'll ruin. They'll ruin. If you're around people that's got a bad influence, you'll be ruined. You won't be no count to nobody else. God won't ever use you for anybody. You know, because the Bible says righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduces them. You know what that word seduce means? It means to lead astray. In other words, if you round them long enough, you're going to get out of church. You're going to quit serving God. If you hang around with them, that cussing, that lying, that cheating, that stealing, that drinking, that doping crowd, you're around them long enough, you're going to be out of church. I guarantee you, mark her down. If you don't get out of church, you still won't be right with God because you'll have all that mess in your behind. It'll also be a lot of time. You're around people that's wicked, got influence, they'll deceive you. Now, John F. Kennedy was not my favorite president. But he did say something that made sense, and it was true. Here's what he said. No matter how big the lie is, repeated often enough to the masses will regard it as true. Adolf Hitler was one of the most biggest manipulators of the 20th century. He could hold a crowd, a mass of people on the edge of their seat with his mesmerizing and hypnotic speeches. And he had many of them he deceived. Lies that they would believe to be the truth. There's a lot of people being on. You ever see somebody like to keep stuff stirred all the time? They always want it. Boy, there's something going. If it ain't, they'll make up something to keep something fuss going. That's the person that destroys you, that'll ruin you. That'll ruin you. Years ago, Brother Phil, I was working at Caples. Listen, when I was going to my church, you didn't mess with my pastor. And I mean it. I don't care what you would not mess with my preacher. This old boy went to our church, Brother Phil, work with us. And he got mad about something with the preacher. And he came to me, that's the wrong thing to do. He said, I want to tell you something about Beaver. I said, first of all, his name's not Beaver. His name is Preacher Beaver. He kept on running his mouth. I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. I said, let's get off work right now and go see Preacher Beaver and talk to him about it. No, I ain't going to do it. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I bet I never hear you say no one more word about him. I said, if you do, you're going to be sorry. You understand? Preacher, you're not. Why not? Why not? God didn't want us to be a bunch of sissies to let people run over our preacher and our church. What would you have done, preacher? I don't know. But I wanted him to think I'd done something. It worked. He didn't ever do it again.
Amen.
But people like to stir and try to stir people out and try to get them stirred up in their mess. See what they're doing, want to drag you into their junk. It's what they want to do. I wouldn't follow them for it. Troublemakers will influence other troublemakers. Paul said it would be like this in the last days. 2 Timothy 4:3, he says, for the time will come they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust, they'll heap themselves teachers having itching ears. They shall turn away from their ears from the truth, and shall be turned into fable. Now what's the consequence of having good influence? I'm quite through. I'm just about through. I went longer than I already thought I was going to, but I'll be through in a minute. First of all, the Bible says the consequence of a good influence says in Proverbs 13:20, he that walketh with a wise man shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. We just need to walk with people that love Jesus, folks. Mm-hmm. I want to be around somebody that loves the Lord. I love to hear people talk about the Lord.
Amen.
I like to talk about how God blessed him, how good God is. I want to be around people like that. If you like to be around people otherwise than that, something's wrong in your life spiritually. People that's got a good influence, they'll defend that one's weak. That one's weak and weary. We're supposed to use our influence to help people, not hinder people. You got the power of a good influence. There's a lot of things I mentioned about a bad influence, but you know one thing, friend? I want to have a testimony, I please the Lord. I want to be a blessing.
Amen.
I ask God, I don't believe that sometimes I forget to pray to Brother Phil, but I always pray when I think, I said, Lord, let me be a blessing to somebody. Amen. Other night, Brother Phil, I went to revival meeting, Brother Mike. As a girl, there's two women there. It was just two women, I know them both personally. And one of them had lost her wife, lost her husband 4 months ago. And the other one had lost her husband about 9 months ago, and they were still pretty bad shape. And I got to talk to them and tell them. I said, I am no means an expert on this. I said, but I can tell you, you may not think it'll get better, but it will get better. I said, your days are still hard, but day by day, that days will get a little easier. And it will pass. The pain, that pain you're going through now, it will get better. But it will take a time. And before I left, one of them women looked at me and said, I really appreciate talking to you tonight. Because her husband had been dead for 4 months. Not bragging on me, I'm just saying I want to be a good influence on people. I want to be a blessing. I want to strengthen those that's weak, don't you? Yeah. Because I tell you what, you got to realize some people are very weak in their faith. It don't take much for them to get out. We that are strong are to be the one to try to restore a brother and help them in their way. Let us have a good, powerful influence. Father, thank you for this night. Allowing us to be back in church. Now, God, you bless us, sir. Bless, oh God, this message. May, God, we take it to heart. May we heed it. May we, God, practice it, God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for my church and for my folks here tonight. Thank you for being good to us. In Jesus' name.